Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'll be sharing my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 Episode 15. As is the norm with all my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. If I had to choose just one word to describe how I felt about this episode, that word would be frustrating. There were some things that I liked about it. I liked the bleak ending, I liked the setting in the submarine, but unfortunately the episode was soured by the fact that the protagonists were just fucking morons. And yeah, I just watched this episode thinking, my god, these characters are idiots, and it just kind of ruined the entire episode for me, so let's talk about it. So it's no surprise that I'm going to complain about Morgan again. I mean, I've moaned about this guy since he came over to the show, and you all know that I find his character particularly annoying, and this week he is no different. He spends the majority of his time in this episode trying to go it alone because he says that, oh, I have to be the one who takes down Teddy, I have to be the one to do this, and he just kind of does things without thinking about it and does things without thinking how it will affect the rest of the group, and it's just really fucking annoying, and it makes me dislike him in an episode in which I'm supposed to be rooting for him. I mean, there is a point where he's pushed into some walkers and it looks like he's going to die, and I didn't think, oh, come on, Morgan, you can survive this. I just thought, please eat him. Please kill him, because he's just doing my head in. He's a moron. So I think the worst moment in the episode for me comes when the group are talking to Teddy via a radio in the submarine. The protagonists are talking, and whilst they're having a chat with Teddy, Morgan just disappears and runs off on his own into a submarine that apparently is full of 150 employees who are now dead and turned into walkers. He just runs off without telling anyone, and that's just a major dick move. I mean, at least tell someone you're going, even if, you know, you're not gonna take no for an answer. Even if they try and convince you, just say, I'm going, and then they say, no, don't go, but then you go. But at least they know you've gone. At least they know you haven't been snatched by a walker, or you haven't been snatched by someone from Teddy's group, because it then just puts other people in danger, because then they have to go and try and find Morgan, and you know, they're putting themselves at risk because they're going to come contact into walkers and they have to split up to find him, and it's just fucking irritating. And this is something that happens a lot on the Walking Dead shows. It happens on The Walking Dead, it happens on Fear the Walking Dead, you know, when these characters just go off on their own and they don't tell anyone. And I think it even happens on The World Beyond, because I remember complaining about, I think it was Hope in one of the early episodes, where they're at the, what do they call it? I can't remember, but it's like a junkyard. I can't remember, but they had a word for it, some lame name that they had for it. And she's at the junkyard and all the characters are asleep, and she decides to go off on her own in the middle of the night to fix the generator or whatever the fuck it is, I can't remember. And again, she doesn't tell anyone, so no one knows where she is, and then they all have to search for her and they put themselves in danger. And why don't people just communicate? Why don't they just say, I'm going? You know, why doesn't Morgan just say, look, I'm sorry, you're taking too long, I'm going, instead of just running off and being a dick? And yeah, I just can't fucking stand this. I don't know why The Walking Dead keeps doing this and keeps having characters, you know, the Walking Dead universe has these characters run off all the time, because it just makes me dislike them. It just makes me dislike them. It's just basic courtesy. Tell someone where you're going. Don't be a dick. Sadly, Morgan's stupidity doesn't stop there, because come the end of the episode, he manages to get into like the submarine's command room, and in that room is Teddy and Riley, and Teddy and Riley have managed to launch a nuclear missile, and you know, they've launched a missile, and then Morgan just lets them go. He just lets them walk away. Yeah, sorry, I keep doing this with my hair, but it's really hot today and I'm sweating. You know what I'm like, I can't handle the heat. But anyway, yeah, Morgan just lets these two go. And I mean, part of me thinks that maybe he just did it because he'd realised that he'd lost, he hadn't got there in time, so he was just like, oh, screw it, just go. What difference does it make me killing you? Because we've lost, you've set the nuke off, you've won, just go. It's not going to make a difference if I kill you. But on the other hand, these two guys are dangerous men. They just launched a nuke. Do you really think that after launching a nuke, they're just going to be good citizens for the rest of their life? I mean, what happens if they escape and get out of the blast radius in time? Then what they're going to do? They're going to mess up someone else's life. They're going to find another missile to launch somewhere. They're going to kill some people. They're bad people. They shouldn't be allowed to live. But Morgan just lets them go. And this is something that he's been doing since, like, what, season 5 or 6 on The Walking Dead, when he let the leader of the Wolf go, and then he even says, oh, it's my fault, I shouldn't have let him go. But he doesn't learn from his mistakes, so he even mentions that he's wrong in that show, I believe. I believe he mentions it in a conversation to Rick or Carol or someone later down the line, but he's still doing the same thing now. He's still letting dangerous people go. And he did this earlier in the season with Riley, when Riley attacked him last time. He killed Riley's men but let Riley go. And now he lets Riley go again. you would have think he would have learnt from that one at least, that, you know, I've let Riley go, and now here he is launching a nuke, and if I had killed him, he wouldn't have been able to do that. But no, he just lets them go again. And why does he let the most dangerous people go? It doesn't make any sense. It's just so fucking irritating. So Morgan spares them, and he also spares Strand after Strand tried to pull a Shane on him. And yeah, I'm kind of undecided about this moment as well. I can see that the general reaction to it from what I've seen on the internet has not been good, and I'm kind of undecided about it. So basically what happens is these two are trying to make their way to the sort of command room in the submarine, and they come to a dead end, and then Strand basically kicks him into a group of walkers so that he can escape and then make his way to the sort of command room or whatever it's called, and then he can try and stop the nukes. And on one hand, part of me thinks that this is a Strand thing to do, because he's always screwing over people. He shot Daniel in season 3. I mean, only this season was he part of Ginny's group, and he basically sentenced Janice to death, and he became a ranger for Ginny basically to get an easier life. So he's always looking out for number one. I mean, even in season 4 as well, he tried to escape with he tried to put a load of food and supplies in a car in case things went bad, and was sort of hoarding supplies for himself. So he always does think about himself. And also in this season, I remember him stabbing that guy in 6A and feeding him to walkers, in what was kind of a similar thing to what he did this episode, in him using someone as walker bait. So he does have history for doing this. So part of me does think that this is something Strand would do. Maybe Strand realised that the only way to get to the room was to sacrifice Morgan, and by doing this he would have the chance to get there and to save Alicia, someone who he cares about more than Morgan, perhaps, you know. So part of me can sort of understand the argument for Strand doing this, yet on the other hand it does still feel weird for him to go to the extreme length of basically killing Morgan to get to the room. I mean, I can understand him stabbing that guy in 6A and then sacrificing him to save Alicia and, Dakota. Oh no, it was Charlie, wasn't it? And Charlie and himself, because he didn't know that guy, and Charlie and Alicia were more important to him than that random dude was. But Morgan seems to be, he doesn't seem to hate Morgan. I know in this episode he said something like, "Oh, I know me and you have history, Morgan." And I was kind of thinking, you do? What history? I mean, you might have had a few minor disagreements, but I don't see him hating him to the point, or, not being so apathetic towards him to the point that he would just kill him to have a better chance at surviving. And again, I know Strand has history of doing these kind of things, but I felt that he kind of changed this season. I felt that his character kind of progressed a bit. I mean, he did seem to show remorse after what he did to Daniel, when Daniel showed him what had happened to his face after he shot him, and he even offered Daniel respite at Lawton. And yes, he did join up with Ginny, but he did that, you could argue that he did that so he could then stage a coup against her, and he did turn on Ginny and help out our characters in the end. So he has done these kind of questionable acts this season, but I think they've always really been for the greater good, and to help people, help his friends, and help people who he loves. So it still felt odd to just see him not care about Morgan's well-being at all and just basically feed him to the walkers. So I don't know, I am undecided about this at the moment, to be honest. I mean, like I said, I thought he'd change, but then maybe Strand is just a good conman. Maybe he's conned me. Maybe he's got it, maybe he's got one over me and he hasn't actually changed, and I just believed him when I shouldn't have. So I don't know, let me know what you think about this one. Do you understand why Strand did it? Do you think that was in character, or don't you? Because I'm kind of undecided at this moment in time. So yeah, let me know what you think about that one. So before I moved on to what I liked about this episode, which is very little, to be honest, one more thing I want to point out is that Morgan basically evacuated his little town so they could, I guess, get out of the missile's range, but then he didn't know the missile was going to hit the town first before they launched it. I don't know. But anyway, the town is empty, and they're all waiting there at the submarine, or waiting sort of a distance away from the submarine on top of like this hill, whilst Morgan and Dwight and all that lot go in the submarine, and then the rest of the civilians are on top of this hill. And I just thought it was bizarre. Like, there was that woman who, I can't remember her name, but the lady who he encountered in the first episode, who had the child with the dude who died, who had the kid. And she's sort of there, standing there with her baby. And I'm like, why are you bringing a baby to the site of a nuclear submarine? Like, what are you doing? Get as far away as you can. Why is the woman with her baby here? So what did I like about this episode? Well, once again, I thought Teddy was great. I really liked the opening at the start where he's talking to Dakota and he's obviously manipulating her and sort of telling her how special she is in an attempt to get her to join him and saying, oh, no one understands you like I do. I'll let you be yourself and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I like that scene. However, it did feel a bit odd that Dakota would just join him despite the fact that he basically says to her, yeah, you're going to die, but don't worry about it because you'll die as the person you are. And I don't know, I don't think Dakota, especially her being so young, would just be open to dying like that. I don't know, that felt a bit odd. But yeah, I liked Teddy. I liked it when he was taunting the group on the radio. I liked that him and John Dory Sr. actually spoke to each other given their history, because when John was introduced on the show, I did say that I hope these two get to meet each other and get to talk to each other. So I liked that. I liked the setting. I liked it in the submarine. It reminded me of one of the Resident Evil games. I can't remember what it was. One of them, Revelations, or one of them where you're on a submarine and there's walkers and stuff, or zombies, whatever they're called in that. And yeah, I like that. I like the setting. You know, it was quite sort of scary. There were a few jump scares that got me. I liked the bleak ending in which the villains basically won because they managed to get, I know it was only one rocket, but instead of, you know, however many there was, they managed to get one off. But I think Teddy said that there were 10 warheads on the rocket, so it was still going to cause quite a lot of destruction. So that kind of bleak ending reminded me a bit of Avengers Infinity War, where, you know, Thanos wins and everyone's dead. Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to actually launch the nuke and basically win, so I like that. But apart from that, yeah, this episode wasn't very good. I will admit I am looking forward to the finale because I don't really know where the show can go from this point. I don't know what's going to happen next week. Perhaps Alicia can do something on her end in the bunker. Perhaps she'll have some kind of control of the missile. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect next week. So I am looking forward to it. But yeah, I just don't think this was a good episode. And I just don't think 6B has been very good. It's been quite disappointing. There's been a few good episodes here and there, but I think Fear has kind of just dropped the ball on the writing in 6B with just characters doing stupid things all the time, you know, things not making any sense. I mean, even at the start of this episode, it kind of felt like I missed an episode coming into this because, I mean, what happened at the end of last week's episode? That one was with Alicia, right? And Teddy, and she's locked away. And then suddenly everyone's just at the submarine. And I'm like, how did the characters get here? What the hell's going on? You know, it's done this quite a lot in 6B, where it's just the next week the characters are at a new location and there's no sort of scenes of them travelling there or getting there. And I guess they do that because they don't want to waste time and shoot unnecessary scenes and whatever. But sometimes it's a bit jarring because you have one episode where the characters are stationed somewhere and then the next week it's like, oh, they're here now. And I'm like, well, what the hell's going on? When did they get here? So yeah, it kind of felt like that again. Like I said at the start of this video, there were aspects of this episode that I liked, but the characters were just absolute morons. I mean, Morgan especially, it's just so annoying. And how did he survive after being pushed into 5 walkers and they're all sort of on top of him, dragging him apart and whatever. And then, of course, when Dakota has her gun to Strand, Morgan turns up in just the nick of time to save the day, and I knew that was going to happen. I knew Morgan was going to come and save Strand because we didn't see him die, so of course he's alive because it kind of cut away from him when the walkers were on top of him. And it just proves what I've said many times this season, that this show is just a Morgan power fantasy now. Morgan's never going to die. This dude has plot armor coming out of his arse, and whenever anyone's in trouble, Morgan comes in and saves everyone, and it's just way too predictable and really annoying in my opinion. I mean, I would have actually liked to see Morgan die in that scene because, yeah, okay, it would have been a dick move for Strand to do, but it would have been interesting. It would have been interesting to see Strand try and cover it up, and it would have got rid of Morgan because I can't fucking stand Morgan. The show is much better without him, but yeah, to see him survive that and come and save Strand in just the nick of time, it just kind of confirms, you know, that the writing on this show is just really lazy and really bad. And yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. The characters are just extremely unlikable and doing stupid things. So yeah, I didn't like this episode at all. You know, there were aspects of it that I liked. I mean, it was entertaining to watch. I can't say that I was particularly bored watching it, but I just found it stupid. I just found so much of it really stupid. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts below. What do you think of this episode? Do you agree with me? Or did you like this episode? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, I'm going to go now because it's very hot today and too hot to be filming. So see you soon. Bye.